never thought I'd live to tell you this. Because the truth is my own son tried to kill me. Yes. You heard that right. The same little boy I once held in my arms, the same child whose laughter filled our house with light, grew up and pushed me and my husband off a cliff, just to silence us. That night, as I felt the air rushing past me and the dark rocks rising below, my husband's voice pierced the terror. His last whisper in my ear before we hit the ground was, "Pretend we're dead." And that whisper saved our lives. People always said we were the picture-perfect family. My husband, Imran, worked hard and was respected in our town. I was the quiet homemaker, always making sure our little boy, our only son Denial, had everything he could possibly want. For years, it felt like we had built something strong. I cooked his favorite meals, we celebrated every birthday with love, and at night, I would pray over him, asking God to protect him always. But looking back now, maybe we loved him too much. Maybe we gave him too much. Because Denial grew up entitled. It started small, little tantrums when he didn't get his way, small lies to cover up mistakes. But as he grew older, those tantrums turned into something darker. He became greedy. And greed destroys even the purest love. The real crack in our family appeared when my husband inherited land from his late brother. It wasn't just any land, it was valuable property, worth millions if sold. From the moment Denial learned about it, he wasn't the same. He was obsessed. He wanted us to transfer it to his name. "Ami, Abu, why do you need it? You're old now. Give it to me. I know how to use it. I'll make it grow." But my husband refused. "It's not time yet, Denial. When we're gone, everything will be yours. But right now we need it. And you need to learn patience." Patience. That word was poison to Denial. He wanted it now. And when greed mixes with impatience, betrayal is only a matter of time. For weeks, Denial pretended to be loving again. He brought me flowers one day, took his father out for tea another. He even said, "Ami, Abu, let's go on a trip together. Just us three. Like old times." I can't tell you how happy that made me. I thought, maybe our son is changing. Maybe the storm in his heart has calmed. So we agreed. We packed small bags and left with him on a weekend trip to the mountains. The ride there was filled with laughter. Denial played our old favorite songs. He even held my hand once and said, "Ami, you're the best mother in the world." My eyes filled with tears. I thought my prayers were answered. But I didn't know. I was sitting beside my own executioner. It was dusk when we reached the viewpoint. The mountains stood tall, shadows stretching across the valley. The sky was bleeding with shades of orange and purple. "Come, Ami, Abu," Denial said with a smile. "Let's take a picture at the edge. The view is perfect here." I remember feeling a chill. The edge was too close, too steep. But Denial insisted. He put his arm around us, smiling, whispering soft words like he used to when he was a child. And then in one swift, horrifying moment, he shoved us. The world spun. My heart stopped. I heard my own scream tearing through the air. Rocks rushed below us like hungry jaws. In that endless second of terror, my husband's voice cut through the chaos. "Pretend we're dead." The next moment, we hit the ground. The world went black for a moment. I don't know how long I was unconscious, seconds, maybe minutes. When my eyes fluttered open, pain seared through my body like fire. My ribs felt cracked, my arm twisted unnaturally, and blood was trickling down my forehead. But I was alive. And when I turned my head, gasping, I saw my husband lying just a few feet away. His chest was rising. His eyes opened slowly, filled with agony and determination. He mouthed it again, barely audible this time. "Pretend we're dead." And that's exactly what we did. We lay still on the cold, jagged ground, bloodied and broken, as footsteps echoed from above. Denial's voice. He was laughing. "Yes, it's done. They're gone. No one saw us. By morning the bodies will be found, and it'll just look like an accident. Don't worry, the land, the money, it'll all be mine now." Each word pierced my heart deeper than the rocks had pierced my skin. Our son, our only son, the child we had raised with love, had just sold us for greed. We didn't dare move. We listened as his footsteps faded, as his car engine roared to life and disappeared into the distance. Only then did my husband whisper, "We have to stay hidden. If he comes back and sees us alive." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. That night was the longest of my life. The pain was unbearable. Every breath felt like a knife in my chest. The cold mountain air froze my wounds. But worse than the pain was the betrayal. I kept seeing Denial's face in my mind, smiling as he pushed us. That smile. It wasn't my son's smile. It was the smile of a stranger. I wept silently into the dirt, but even my tears felt dangerous. What if he heard? What if he returned? So we lay there, two broken bodies, pretending to be dead, waiting for dawn. By morning, birds circled overhead. The sun revealed the depth of the cliff we had fallen from. It was a miracle we were alive at all. Some rocks and bushes had broken our fall, sparing us from certain death. But survival was only the first step. We were stranded, far from the road, with broken bones and bleeding wounds. My husband tried to stand but collapsed instantly. His leg was bent the wrong way. I knew it was broken. My own arm dangled uselessly, dislocated or fractured. I couldn't tell. We were helpless. But we were alive. And that meant one thing. We had a chance to fight back. As we dragged ourselves slowly toward the shelter of some rocks, I couldn't stop my mind from flashing back to Denial's childhood. The nights I stayed awake nursing his fevers. The mornings I walked him to school, holding his tiny hand in mine. The times I defended him when teachers complained saying, "He's just a child, he'll learn." All those sacrifices. All those prayers. And now this. What did we do wrong? Where did our love turn into poison? I looked at my husband, his face pale with pain but his eyes burning with quiet rage. He whispered, "We can't let him get away with this." And I nodded. Through the pain, through the heartbreak, one truth grew inside me. If our son wanted us dead, then we had nothing left to lose. It took us hours, but by midday, we had managed to crawl our way to a narrow trail. My husband leaned on me, even with my broken arm, and we hobbled step by step. Every sound in the forest made me flinch. What if Denial came back to check? What if someone else saw us and reported to him? We needed help, but we also needed silence. Finally, we stumbled upon a shepherd's hut, abandoned but still standing. Inside, there was an old wooden cot, some cloth and a rusty water pot. It wasn't much, but it was enough to hide. That's where we stayed the next 2 days, licking our wounds, surviving on rainwater and wild berries, praying for strength. And as our bodies slowly adjusted to the pain, our minds grew sharper. We weren't just victims anymore. We were survivors. And survivors fight back. On the 3rd day in that hut, I finally convinced my husband that we needed to move closer to town. Our wounds were bad, but not fatal. If we stayed hidden too long, we'd die of infection or hunger before Denial even faced justice. So, under the cover of night, we limped toward the village at the base of the mountain. Every step was agony. My husband leaned on a stick, dragging his broken leg. I cradled my arm, still useless, close to my chest. When we reached the outskirts, we avoided the main road and slipped into the shadows behind houses. We needed to know one thing first. What Denial was telling the world. The answer came sooner than I expected. As we crouched near a tea shop, I heard 2 men talking. Poor souls, one said, sipping his tea. They fell from the cliff. Both gone. Their son was the one who reported it. Said he tried to save them, but it was too late. My breath caught in my throat. Our funeral. Our death. Our murderer. Now the grieving son. He's arranging everything, the other man said. Already talking about selling the land to developers. Shame really. But at least the boy is alive. Allah saved him. Allah saved him. Those words burned in my ears. No. Allah saved us. And Denial would pay for his lies. We couldn't go home directly. Denial was living there, using it as his throne, no doubt. But I couldn't resist. I needed to see. So the next evening, under the cloak of darkness, we crept through the back alley toward our house. The windows glowed with warm light, laughter spilling out. Laughter. For a moment, I thought maybe I was hallucinating. Who could he be laughing with, when his parents' bodies hadn't even been buried? I pressed my face closer to the wall, and peered through a gap in the curtain. And that's when my heart stopped again. Inside, sitting comfortably at the dining table, was Denial, and a woman. Not just any woman. My sister. Her name was Samira. She had always been jealous of me, though I never wanted to believe it. She would mock my simple life, my humble husband. And though she never married, she often hinted that she deserved better than what fate had given her. Now I understood. They were partners. Partners in greed. Partners in betrayal. I watched as Denial held her hand, whispering something that made her laugh. I saw the way their eyes glinted with conspiracy, not grief. My husband's hand gripped mine tightly. His face was pale, but his jaw was clenched. "We can't go in now," he whispered. "We're too weak. But this is bigger than we thought." And so we left silently, like ghosts haunting our own home. For the next week, we lived like shadows. We slept in abandoned shacks, moved only at night, and avoided everyone. We listened. We observed. And slowly the truth unfolded. Denial had convinced the entire town that we were dead. He had filed the death certificates, arranged a funeral with empty coffins, and shed crocodile tears in public. People pitied him, embraced him, praised him for his strength. Meanwhile, Samira had moved into our house as if it were hers all along. Together, they were preparing to sell the land, and once the deal was done, they would vanish with the money. Every day my hatred grew, but so did my fear, because I wasn't sure what scared me more, the thought of confronting my son, or the thought of living the rest of my life hiding from him. It happened unexpectedly. One night, I went to fetch water from a stream while my husband rested. As I bent down, I heard footsteps behind me. My heart raced, too late to hide. A flashlight beam hit my face, and there he was. Denial. For a moment, both of us froze. He looked as if he'd seen a ghost, and in a way he had. "Amy." His voice cracked. No, this isn't real. You're dead." I stood slowly, clutching the water pot to my chest. My body shook, but my voice came out steady. "No, Denial. We are alive. And God is my witness. You will answer for what you did." His face twisted from shock to anger. "You should have stayed dead," he hissed. And then he lunged. The air was heavy with silence, broken only by the rushing water. Denial's face was a mask of fury, his eyes blazing with something inhuman. He lunged at me, grabbing my arm with a force that made me cry out. Pain shot through my broken bones, and I nearly collapsed. "Why didn't you die?" he spat, his breath hot and bitter against my face. "You ruined everything." Before I could answer, I heard a voice. Weak but steady. "Let her go, Denial." It was my husband. He had followed me, dragging his broken leg, leaning on a stick. His eyes burned with the fire of a father betrayed. For a moment, Denial hesitated. But then his grip tightened. "You don't understand," he growled. "I deserve it. All of it. The land, the money. It should be mine. You've lived your lives already. It's my turn now." I looked at him, my own son, and all I could see was greed consuming him like a disease. "Not like this," I whispered through tears. "Not by killing us." But my words didn't reach him. He shoved me hard, and I fell onto the rocks. My husband swung his stick at him, but Denial caught it and twisted it away. The three of us struggled there by the stream, the water splashing violently as if echoing our chaos. My husband gasped, his strength fading. Denial pushed him down, pressing the stick against his throat. I screamed, and then instinct took over. With my good arm, I grabbed a stone from the ground and hurled it at Denial's head. It struck him just above the temple, and he staggered back, dazed. "Run," my husband rasped. And so we did. Broken, bleeding, terrified, we ran. We couldn't go far, but we managed to reach the hut again. My husband collapsed onto the cot, coughing violently. His face was pale, his breathing shallow. "He'll come after us," I said, panic rising in my chest. "Yes," my husband replied weakly. "Which is why we need proof. We can't fight him with our hands. We have to fight him with the truth." The truth. Those words gave me strength. If Denial wanted the world to believe we were dead, then maybe the only way to destroy him was to show the world that we were alive. The next night, I made my way back to the house. My heart pounded as I crept through the shadows, slipping into the kitchen door I knew so well. Inside, I could hear Denial and Samira talking. "They're gone, I told you," Denial was saying. "Even if somehow they survived the fall, they wouldn't last this long. They're weak. They're finished." Samira's voice followed. "Good. Once the land is sold, we'll be free. Imagine, Denial. We can start a new life. Just you and me." My stomach turned. My sister and my son. Plotting, laughing, building their future on our graves. Quietly, I pulled the small recorder from my pocket, a cheap one I had found in the shepherd's hut. I placed it just inside the room hidden near the doorway. Their words poured in. Every confession. Every laugh. Every detail of their betrayal. When I finally retrieved the recorder hours later, my hands were trembling. But for the first time, I felt hope. We had proof. The next morning, with dawn breaking over the hills, I limped with my husband to the town police station. The officer at the desk looked up in shock when he saw us. You're supposed to be dead," he stammered. I set the recorder on the table. Not dead. But almost. Listen. As the tape played, silence filled the room. Denial's voice, Samira's laughter, their confessions, it was all there. When the tape ended, the officer's face was grim. "Stay here," he said. "We'll take care of this." Later that evening, we watched from the shadows as police surrounded our house. Denial opened the door, confusion on his face. Samira stood behind him, her smile fading when she saw the uniforms. There was shouting, struggling, cuffs snapping shut, and then silence. Our son, the boy we had once cradled, fed, loved, was dragged away in chains. Samira followed, her face twisted with rage. I thought I would feel triumphant, but instead, I felt hollow. The weeks that followed were a blur. Court hearings, testimonies, endless questions. The town was shocked. Whispers following us wherever we went. Alive? After all this time? Betrayed by their own son? The evidence was undeniable. Denial and Samira were sentenced, long years behind bars. Justice, they called it. But for me it wasn't justice. It was tragedy. Because no prison could undo the truth. Our son had murdered us in his heart long before he tried to kill us with his hands. Months later, I visited him once in prison. I don't know why. Maybe to look for the child I once knew. He sat behind the glass, thinner, his eyes dull. "Why, Denial?" I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "We gave you everything. Why wasn't it enough?" He looked at me, his expression empty. And then he said words that will haunt me forever. "Because love doesn't buy land, Amy." And with that he turned away. I walked out of that prison and never went back. Today, I live quietly with my husband in a small home far from that cursed land. Our bodies still ache from the fall, but the deeper wounds are inside, wounds that never truly heal. And if you've listened this far, I want you to take this with you. Love your children, yes. Guide them, protect them, give them what they need. But never forget, too much can become poison. Greed can grow where love once bloomed. Our story is not just about betrayal, it's about survival. And survival sometimes means letting go. Even of the ones you love most.